Coming to you from a wrong turn off Route 66. Somewhere in the Sonoran Desert, it's James Out West.
Good evening, Phoenix and friends. Let me talk to you. James Out West on this beautiful and awfully hot Monday, April 22nd, 2024. As always, in the studio with me, Pat, the stat guy on the other side of the glass. This week, Aaron. And we got NBA basketball going on right now. Playoffs are happening. We got all kinds of good stuff, and Pat's going to tell us what that is. Let the people know.
Yeah, so okay, we're going to get started with the NBA award finalists were just announced, so we're going to talk about that.
Yes, sir.
And then we're going to jump into the NBA playoffs, talk a little bit of round one with a little deeper look into the Suns Timberwolves, as you and I actually went to game one. Mm-hmm. And then for the second half, we're going to have Donnie D from Sports Illustrated FanNation going to call in. He's going to continue some of that Suns NBA playoffs talk, and then we're going to finish off the night talking about the NFL draft coming up.
Right on. And I might sneak in MLB only because I know I'm dropping on you, but yeah. I might have a little something. Okay.
I mean, I threw some MLB stuff at you, but Fantastic. Yeah, either way, it's going to be a great show.
All right, right on. So as we always do, we go around the room. We kind of hinted at what we did over the weekend, but Patrick, sir, how was your weekend?
It was a chilly weekend because, we escaped the valley, went to Minneapolis, the Twin Cities for game one. It was awfully cold for April.
It was brisk.
So, but it was a good weekend, man. Again, basketball on Saturday, flew back Sunday, and just chilled out, rested.
Absolutely. Aaron, how was your weekend, sir?
Yeah, Saturday, obviously I was here all day doing ASU baseball. And then on Sunday, with this week is my last week of school for the semester. With Sunday was the calm before the storm, just trying to relax.
Right on. Did you watch any movies?
Yes, I did. I watched a movie called The Green Knight. It's a really awesome movie. I actually would suggest it. I think it's up there in one of my favorite movies I've watched recently. Right so on. If you have a chance to watch The Green Knight, it's a little slow. It's an A24 movie, so just the pace is a little slow, but it's good.
Right on. All right, so, kind of like how Patrick said, our weekend was in Minneapolis. It was brisk. Thought about staying for game two. That means we'd have been calling in from there today, and so logistically speaking. But let's talk about this real quick.
I was going to say, they had 2 days off, which we weren't really aware of at first, so yeah.
Yeah, wild. But let's talk about this real quick.
I hope they've just been shooting the last 2 days and practicing rebounding. Anyway.
No kidding. Real quick, props to the Minnesota Timberwolves media department. Yep. They were very hospitable. Put us in great seats, gave us a little gift bag, got a little free drink at the Irish pub, which is always nice. So it was very cool the way that they did it. Had a good time. The flights, shout out Sun Country, flew them there and back. It was affordable, yet everything worked out. Everything worked out. We had great seats. People didn't show up. We had extra leg room. It worked out.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know if we shout out Sun Country or we shout out the people who didn't show up for their seats.
Either way, the only people that didn't show up for the entirely booked flight was sitting next to Patrick. So it worked out. That was a score. So we did a little bit better than the Suns. All right, so getting into the NBA and starting with the finalists. Everything came out this, I think it was today or maybe yesterday, but the finalists for the awards, and we were kind of talking about it on and off during the year about, what are these finalists going to be? We kind of had an idea of what Rookie of the Year finalists would be. Chet, you talked about it right away before the season started.
Chet the threat.
Chet and Wemby. They have to have a third one. Brandon Miller for the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, he's not, he's going to finish third. I think it's probably not going to be close, but Victor, not saying Chet played 82 games. Yeah. Great season. They finished number one overall in the West, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, but Victor was, he's special. He's just so different. There's no denying he's Rookie of the Year. Yeah, and I don't want any of this Jason Kidd, Grant Hill, co-Rookie of the Year crap. Just give it to Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah. Look, he's arguably the Defensive Player of the Year, right? And then obviously
he's a finalist for that too.
Yep, exactly. So, Chet Holmgren, shout out to him. Great season. Heck of an effort. Again, he would have probably won Rookie of the Year any other year. If he actually would have played last year, done this last year, maybe he would have won it. But, great performance.
Now, let's talk about that Defensive Player of the Year because you got a guy that's a finalist in two categories as a rookie. That's rare. Having it be Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert, who we saw firsthand, and we've seen him a few times this year, and then Victor. To me, I think, and we said, blocks aren't the deciding factor on winning Defensive Player of the Year because if it was, Victor squashed Rudy.
Yep.
We got to see it. To to me, I think Victor is the defensive player of the year. I don't think they're going to give it to him, but I think he is. I think what he does, it makes everybody have to change the way you can't, from the free throw line in, he changes everything. Because he's fast enough and long enough to cover big space, and yet he's athletic enough to be able to get back to, if he doesn't block it, you have to go like Kyrie and shoot rainbow shots up over him to get lucky, as he put it.
Yeah, well, again, I don't think the NBA wants to give him 2 awards, right? And they're going to give it to somebody else. Like it kind of, Wemby even said, hey, it's probably Rudy's to get now. Like, hey, let him have it now because from here on out, it's mine.
Right. Shout out to
it's my award. Yeah, your brother was telling us about that. And, either way, and I know the league, I think his peers in the NBA actually would probably give it to Wemby, Yeah,
I agree.
And also, AD thinks he should be Defensive Player of the Year. He thinks it's ridiculous. No one considers him Defensive Player of the Year. He came out quoted saying he is the best defensive player out there, and he might be. I think he's probably the best defensive player to go up against Joker. I mean, that's a totally different conversation. I like him as far as somebody matching up with Joker, and he should be in the conversation. He just can't stay healthy as far as ability. But either way, there's a lot of players out there who probably think they are the guy and should be considered, and I'm sure Rudy thinks he's the guy.
Well, I'll tell you this, just because it's the finalist is 3, AD might have been 4.
Yeah.
Like, he still's in the conversation, I'm assuming, but for the reason of the NBA and for the, the effect they did, they did a finalist of 3. The key and most improved player, Tyrese Maxey, we see him here tonight, Kobe White, Alfred Seguin. Now, my brother tells me about this kid because from Houston, only because my brother likes to dive deep into the prop bets on any given gambling site, and that's one of his big guys that he likes to bet on. Because for a while there, they didn't know what they were doing with him, so I understand why he's in the most improved player, most valuable. We talked about this before they came out with the 3, and we named the 3. And we got it right. We figured it'd be Luka. We figured it'd be Joker. And we were kind of going, is it, SGA? And it is. It is SGA.
Okay, yeah.
And I've heard a lot of stuff today about, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting it, being the guy to win it. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think looking at it, they're going to give it to Luka Doncic. I think with what he did, and shout out my brother again for kind of pointing out some of the things that he did this season from a stat standpoint and just the way he was able to do it and where they ended up finishing and having to play the way that they did. He's probably the guy, and if you don't have a clear cut, this would be the year to give it to him.
Right.
Like if this wasn't like if Joker wasn't dominate. I mean he always dominates, but you know what I'm saying. Like being what he was, this is the year where no one's standing out. This is a good year to give it to him and get it under his belt now, because in a couple of years, like you said, it might be Victor Wembanyama's world, and they're all just living in it because he could be the defensive player of the year, he could be the MVP, he could be all of these things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like this is the time to give it to him.
Yeah.
And this will be 6.
Are you saying your brother thought Luka is MVP?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure your brother, when I asked him just who he thought the best player in the league was, he went with Joker.
Yeah.
Right? And then I asked, right? Because there's it's
That's
true.
I
think
agree
back
with
in
that.
the day, like MVPs and best player was always kind of looked at as best offensive player, right? It was the guy getting the most points. And now I think in the last 5-10 years, whatever it's been, like fans in the NBA and just, basketball heads have started to respect more of like the all-around game, the triple doubles, right? And when you look at Joker, yeah, he's the all-around game is there, but Luka's getting the points, right? Like Luka's the league leader in scoring. And so I don't know. I thought your brother was saying Joker, so we'll have to clear that up with your brother.
Yeah, to me, I could say yes. I think Joker's the best player in the league, but that doesn't mean he had the best season.
Right? Yeah.
Doesn't mean he you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
I just don't remember him saying Luka was his pick for MVP. I just don't remember. We'll have to ask your brother.
Right on. And then Coach of the Year, Orlando, which we saw Minnesota. Chris Finch. If you had asked me right now, that's probably my pick out of it. And again, I don't follow a lot of Oklahoma City Thunder to be able to tell you the difference between the coaching side. I mean, finished number 1, obviously, but being able to say that guy is going to be the guy. And I'm not talking about the clutch player of the year. Who the hell cares? I mean,
all right, fair enough.
So we're going to leave that one out.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think they got him right for the most part. Well, I'll be curious to see what the All-NBA team looks like, because Jalen Brunson wasn't in the MVP talk either. Right. He didn't end up being a finalist, and you could argue that him or Shai, you know what I'm saying, like with what he had to do. That New York Knicks had a lot of injuries.
Let's start calling him Shai. Okay.
All right. Am I still calling him Shai?
You are calling him Shai. That'd be the third time you called him Shai right there.
You know what? I'm sorry about that, Shay, but Club Shay. But First off, Shy, it looks like the R&B group from the 90s, so it's spelled the same if I'm not mistaken.
But yeah,
so.
either way, we said it before. Shea and Jalen Brunson they're the people's MVPs, right?
Right.
And, either way, I did want to say, I looked it up, like, for Defensive Player of the Year, how the metrics they decided on, it's usually a combination of field goal percentage against, defensive win shares, rebounds, and blocks. So those types of things factor in, and maybe Rudy does pass up Wemby in that sense. I don't know.
Ooh, we did not mention the Sixth Man of the Year, and the reason I want to mention the Sixth Man of the Year.
Because it's a big one?
Well, yeah, but it's about a guy that's in it.
Okay.
And if it's off of popularity alone, this guy could be MVP of the league. The Sixth Man of the Year is Malik Monk, Bobby Portis Jr., or, it's 2 words.
Nas Reed?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nas Reed. So to get into this real quick, as we'll transition, folks, let's go. We went to the Suns, Minnesota game 1 in Minneapolis and watched the Suns absolutely get destroyed by 25 points.
Yep.
But in that game, if you didn't know any better, if you didn't follow basketball and they just dropped you in to go watch this game, you don't know anybody's anybody.
Right.
Other than actually watching the game and see what Anthony Edwards did. Shout out that dude. But you would think that Nas Reed is the best player on the planet.
Yeah.
The fans, he's absolutely electric. It's not like Bol here. The fans are happy for Bol here.
Right.
For sure. But there's not flags with his name officially licensed from the team hanging, and there's a lot of them.
Dude, I'd say 75% of the signs in there are for Nas Reed.
Absolutely.
Over Ant.
Absolutely.
And Cat and all these cool names that they have.
It was impressive. And speaking of impressive.
And again, he is kind of for Suns fans, he's in a way, he's their Bol, as in every time he scores, they go crazy. But he's getting more minutes than Bol, considering
Absolutely.
Bol got 4 minutes at the end of the game, just trash minutes.
Yeah, the last 4.
But again, it's the reaction Bol gets is what Nas Reed gets. And I'm surprised there isn't more Bol signs out there. But yeah, again, Nas gets more playing time. He's up for Sixth Man of the Year.
Absolutely. And he showed it. He showed out. He played a couple. He had a really nice play that was not a travel surprise because there was a lot of that going on.
That was some street ball. It was nice, man.
So we're going to get into that on the other side of the break. We're going to dive into more of the Suns, kind of what we thought happened, what they can do for Game 2. The rest of the first round, we get a lot of basketball. You guys listen to KDUS 1060 Phoenix, home of the Dan Patrick Show. Rich Eisen, and of course, James Out West featuring Pat the Stat Guy. Make sure you guys come on back for more of this basketball talk.
1060.
Thank you, CJ. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us into the night. James Out West, KDUS 1060 Phoenix. We got NBA basketball on right now, and we just saw a play of plays. LeBron James at 47 years old denying a Jamal Murray dunk. And when I say denying, I mean hand almost completely inside the rim. Like you said, how strong your fingers have to be, your wrist has to be to do that. But it was impressive nonetheless. So hopefully the playoffs continue to be impressive. Obviously, Game 1, every road team lost. So every home team won. We've already had some Game 2s happen in the books. Knicks won again. Philly kept it close, but Knicks pulled away. Jalen Brunson's continuing to show why he is a dog. On the other side of that, the Cavs beat Orlando again. They're up 2-0. So they both those series look like they're cruising. Mm-hmm. So hopefully for them, you got a couple of games today. Right now, obviously, we got the Lakers and LeBron James at the line. Surprise, surprise. He's not going to be he's going to be at the line a lot, I'm assuming. So, all right. So talking about the Suns, obviously we being there, impressions. The stadium's awesome. The crowd is very awesome. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say unexpected because I know people in Minnesota bring it. So I don't want to say it was unexpected.
Right.
But it was electric. It was juiced the entire game. It was juiced the entire game. Actually, when we got there early and got to see them setting up for what they were going to do for their opening, it was awesome. We were like, oh, they're putting together a great show. And they did. I mean, in the first quarter, the Suns, they had 0 second chance points, almost not even just for the game almost. But in the first quarter, they had 0 break. They had 0 fast break points. They ended up still leading by 1. So it's okay, they're not getting the easy baskets. They're not getting the extra baskets, but they're still up. And then the wheels fell off.
Yeah.
The refs were so inconsistent for both teams. Both teams were pissed. Both teams were upset at the referees, and we've watched it firsthand. There was plays where there was simply not a foul, and they called a foul. Yep. And then there was plays where it was a belligerent foul, and there was no call. So, yes, people complain a lot, and people say D-Book has been a complainer, and, that's a problem. Maybe you learn that from CP3, one of the bad habits you talked about potentially. Mm-hmm. But when you feel like you're not getting the calls, and then you're going to gripe. Yeah, I mean, I understand. It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. That's what I'll say because I'm not in his shoes. But to have that, and Anthony Edwards does it too, a
That's
little
what
bit.
I was actually just going to say that. Ant does it a lot too. He's also 22 years old. But
Right, no, that's very true.
But he does do it a lot, right? And actually, it's something you see a lot in the NBA. People will, try and get their calls or fight and try and make refs aware of it for future plays. Hey,
Absolutely.
He was doing this. He was grabbing my wrist. He was doing that. But
Absolutely. I was looking at it because it was this. This is what was bothering me, and obviously you were watching it as well. Was there was no boxing out. There was no crashing the boards on the offense, and it showed. I mean, they got out rebounded by like 22 or something like that. It was like an absurd amount of rebounds. And then after the game, KD actually mentioned, I wish I would have been more prepared, would have pulled the clip, but he basically said he answered why that happened without the question being asked. He looked at the stat line and he said, "Hey, they out rebounded us because we decided we were not going to crash on the offense. We were going to get back on defense."
wow.
That was going into the game plan. We were not going to crash the boards, and we were going to get back on defense.
Yeah.
And it still cost them.
And you noticed that early on.
Oh, it was really upsetting me.
Part of the game, I'm always usually kind of looking through the camera trying to get some footage. And honestly, I can't use the audio from any of my stuff because most of it's James going, "Hey, they're not under the boards. There's got 4 guys under the boards. They got 5 guys under the boards." Like, what's going on? Because, you noticed it early. Like, they weren't being aggressive on rebounding, and it killed them in the end. And yeah, so obviously they've got to switch that part of their game plan up. And then, KD, I did, rewatching the tape, it's hard. He can't really guard Cat,
No.
Cat is a big body and a great passer, right? But at the same time, I noticed a lot of times when guys try to help KD, they'll help KD and he's doing fine. Like, they're helping KD, doubling Cat, and now, it's an open guy. Or they're, later in the game, they were double teaming Ant. Like, they're double teaming guys to help KD, and then they're doubling Ant because he's hot. Like, I don't know, man. Like, they're going to have to man up a little more, or when they're double teaming, these guys are finding the open man, and it's just absolutely killing them.
And it was interesting because, early in the game, Cat was bailing KD out by roaming the three-point line, staying out there and bailing him out. And then it seemed like in the second quarter, he was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was just them adjusting, watching the assistant coaches going, hey, we should be going to the post here with Cat. He outweighs him by 100 pounds. He's going to get a foul. He's going to make the right play because Cat's a very good passer, as we could see. And he makes it easy when you can just dump down looking over the top of somebody.
Yeah.
So, and KD answered that in the post-game press conference. He said, they're just bigger than us.
Yeah.
And they are. And we talked about it. And this is why, another reason why I was so big on, hey, can you get a Brook Lopez? Mm-hmm. This is why I'm talking about kind of crazy, but go get a Zach Edey.
Well, yeah.
You need big guys if you're gonna beat the Lakers or gonna beat Denver. And I'm pointing over my shoulder here, ladies and gentlemen, with the TV, and you're gonna beat Minnesota. You do need big guys, and the fact that you didn't use Bol at all to bring in some guys, get some heat off of KD to be able to be out of there, and valiant on KD's effort. KD's a true hooper. No matter the assignment, no matter what, he's not gonna complain. He's gonna get after it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that was interesting to see. Also, too, and I don't know if it's just too elementary, and I've brought this up before, and it's probably beating a dead horse, but who the hell cares? At the 3-minute and 18 mark in the second quarter, Ant gets his third foul. Mm-hmm. We know what he did in the second half, specifically in the third quarter. Yeah. Where he just went off on KD and everybody else just shooting from everywhere, and it was just nothing but the bottom of the net.
Right.
Shout out ESPN. But having that happen, why aren't you going at him right away to try to get a fourth foul early? Especially he's heating up. Why aren't we? I don't understand why it's not going, okay, who cares? And that's maybe on the players, too, to recognize that, hey, he's got 3 fouls. Give me the ball. Let's get the switch. Let's try 2 or 3 plays where I'm going to drive on him. He does foul because he's aggressive, because he wants to make every play.
Right, and he did
use
come
that
back
to your advantage. He came back in.
Yeah.
And he goes off. And we see what he did, and him jarring at KD, which was an awesome moment to watch.
Yeah.
Which you captured, which was amazing, and everybody brought it up and got to see it. And KD just smiling at it, because you can't do nothing but help. And they're friends.
Yeah.
They get along. He respects him. He also knows that he considers him to be his GOAT.
Well, yeah, again, this thing, that brings up a lot. I did capture a lot. And, one thing that I really loved about Ant is when he did go out, he's their best player. But when he's on the bench, he's their biggest cheerleader.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to love that from this kid, right? He's 22, and, to use a Wolf pun, he's the leader of that pack, right? He's the leader of the pack, the 22-year-old, and they've got all these veterans on this team, and he's the leader. Mm-hmm. They do a good job of looking out for him, making sure he doesn't kind of bark too much and get himself in trouble with the refs. When he's going over and complaining, there's always a coach or a couple vets going, okay, that's enough. But he's the leader, right? They're following this 22-year-old kid. It's amazing to see. And I think Suns fans, when, you can't help but be jealous when you look over on that team, not just at Ant, but just the energy on that team and the fire that they have, and you don't really see it in the Phoenix Suns. and not to point fingers, but the star Devin Booker, he doesn't have that Ant fire. He's got the anger, but I don't know if he's got the fire. And so,
well, they all kind of handle it low-key.
I loved seeing that from Ant, just seeing him turn into the biggest cheerleader on the bench. So
absolutely,
great leader, this kid. But yeah, like either way, what was the second point you brought up when he came back in, or?
Oh, when he came back in and then he starts hitting threes, he's hitting. You saw every shot he was taking.
Sorry,
he was just
my bad.
it.
You were talking about how like KD and all these guys, they're friends, right? Like that's cool and all, but it's not buddy time. You know what? Because you did see in the end, he hit a three in Bradley Beal's face and put like a three up in Bradley's face. They kind of smiled and smirked at each other. And it's all fun and games. Ant, KD, and Booker are all going to be on Team USA together. But in the end, like now you're down one game. I know you've got to take one to flip things, and the advantage goes back to the Suns. But that was fun and all. The fans got to see that barking back and forth and KD's reaction, all smiling. But no, it's time being buddy. That time is over.
Absolutely. Well, and I think like because KD respects him, he's not going to get. It's like there's no ill will to fight. Like the competitor's there, but like in seeing him smile at him, like yes, dude, you're in the zone right now, and you guys are dogging us. Yeah, I will say this: there is a big difference between. So at the end of the game, it was supposed to be Coach Frank coming in, and then it was supposed to be Book and KD.
Right.
Book didn't end up being in the press conference for whatever reason. They sent Bradley Beal in. So Bradley Beal came in first and spoke. He gave some pretty good answers. He gave some good insight on what they were feeling. I kind of like the fact that they're calm, but it's like it's a double-edged sword. Like, yes, I'd love to see them all fired up and be pissed off about this, but at the same time, like, is that how this team's going to move forward, or are they more of the, hey, don't let it get to us because that could be a problem? Like, and that just shows like it almost seems like a lack of fire, like you said. But when KD came in there, every time I listen to this dude talk, I just respect him more and more as a basketball player. And this is coming from a guy, like I told you, like I'm not, fan side. I was never a fan because I respect his game, but I'm not a fan. He's never on my team.
Yeah, fair enough.
But watching him and listening to him talk, like he is a true hooper's hooper. Yep. Like he's all about ball. They were talking about the smiling and trash talking. He's like, that's just hoop. That's not even just playoff basketball. That's just basketball. Like if you can do, like we all get in that way, like it's good. Like that's basketball. And him just talking about like the team and the effort and him looking at it going, ultimately they shot 13 more shots than us. They were more efficient. That was the game. Like he goes, I would live with these shots. He looked at it, and he was just looking down at the stat line, looking at who shot what, and he was like, I live with these shots all day long. He's like, Book, shooting those shots, I live with it all day long. Yeah. So it's like he recognizes that, and that's for me, made me go, maybe
like we said,
so
is
upset
like,
about it.
I don't think the Timberwolves are going to have that great, it's going to be hard for them to repeat that good of a shooting game, and the Suns aren't going to have that bad of a shooting game again, right?
Yeah.
So, they got beat by 25, but if they go win game 2 by 1, it erases that 25-game loss, and the advantage goes to them going back to Phoenix.
Absolutely. All right, so on the other side of the break, Donnie Druin from Sports Illustrated FanNation will join us to finish up this NBA talk and then get into the NFL draft. You guys are listening to KDUS 1060 Phoenix, home of NAU football. Go Lumberjacks, that's what's up. ASU baseball, Aaron's favorite, and, of course, for the, I think, 5th, 6th year, either way, it doesn't matter, your Las Vegas Raiders. We are here. Shout out Bowers. Come on back.
Welcome back to James Out West on KDUS 1060.
Thank you, CJ. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us. KDUS 1060 Phoenix into the night. Pat the Stat Guy in studio. Lakers up in the first quarter. Aaron on the side of the glass. And we have Donnie Druin of All Cardinals and Inside the Suns. Sports Illustrated FanNation on the line. Donnie D from the Berg. Are you there, sir?
James out west. How are we?
Good, man. How are you been? How you been?
Oh, busy, man. Busy. It's a very busy time of year to cover both the NFL and the NBA. But you know what, man? I can't really complain. It's like Christmas coming up, I feel like. It's one of the best days of the year on the calendar by far.
Oh, my goodness. I can't wait. So are you going to be – what are you doing Thursday for the draft?
So I will be at the team facility in Tempe.
Now, how many years in a row have you done that?
This will be year number 3 for me.
Right on. All right, and obviously we saw what Monty was able to do last year, and we saw the video of it. And the NFL Films did a great job of putting the dramatic music behind it of him wheeling and dealing, and it was very impressive. I'm not a big Cardinals fan, as you know, but it gave me goosebumps, gave me chills watching him do his thing in real time and how he handled it, very smooth and very calm. Let me ask you, well, we're going to get into that. Let me ask you about the Suns, because I'm reading here, I've been going through some of your articles here. You know, the Suns are not overacting in Game 1 loss to the Timberwolves. Suns reveal the status of Grayson Allen versus Timberwolves, things like that. Give me your impression of Game 1. What did you see from watching it from afar? What did you gather and glean, sir?
It was funny because right before Game 1 started, a couple of days before that, one of the Wolves' assistant coaches said that they remained vanilla last Sunday on purpose because they knew there was a high probability that they would face the Suns again. So they went 3-0 against the Wolves in the regular season, and Minnesota came out with that home crowd behind them. They were trailing after the first quarter, and then slowly but surely they just kind of took over the game. We'll see ultimately how everything kind of pans out and adjusts, but playoff basketball really isn't that difficult. I feel like it's just you make whatever adjustments from game to game, and you got to make your shots. And to Pat's point before you guys went to break, can Minnesota replicate that tremendous shooting performance again? I'm not super sure, and I think when you have a guy like Kevin Durant, a guy like Devin Booker, and a third option like Bradley Beal, more times than not, after a game like that, they're going to find a way to bounce back. So my initial impressions from Game 1 was, Minnesota came ready to play, and we'll see what Frank Vogel can do moving into Game 2 tomorrow night.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. I mean, there's obviously some adjustments that'll have to be made. They got to figure out something because, like Katie said, they're smaller. They're smaller than the Timberwolves, and they're going to hopefully use that to their advantage. It's interesting you say that they were vanilla on purpose, and then you got Bradley Beal telling the coach after the final game of the season that your guys don't play hard for you. It was Bradley Beal that said that
To Chris Finch?
Yes,
The Timberwolves head
yes.
coach? Yeah, that's
and then
wild.
him going there and telling him, and then Anthony Edwards responded saying he's right. We were just kind of out there running around playing like we weren't playing hard for him, and that stuck with us. Like,
did you hear about
Bradley
that, Donnie?
Beal, what are you doing?
Did you hear about that, Donnie?
I did hear about it. Yeah, I do want to give a quick shout out to my deputy editor Kevin Hicks because he wrote a tremendous article on what the Suns needed to do to go from Game 1 to Game 2 and go get a win. And he basically brought up the point where it's like, look, like Minnesota already has so many advantages whenever it comes to playing defense and kind of controlling the paint and patrolling the post. You really need to shoot more threes. Like shooting 28 threes in a playoff game against Minnesota, it's just simply unacceptable. So I think that might be my biggest key for that. But also going back to your guys' point, they don't need bulletin board material. Anthony Edwards, we saw him in that movie with Adam Sandler. That guy does not need any extra juice to get him going. So hopefully they learned their lesson. Hopefully Bradley Beal doesn't open his mouth to the Wolves coach again. But I think Game 1, more than anything, might have just been a nice wake-up call for Frank Vogel and company.
Now, did you get a chance to catch any of the other games that were not Suns-related over the weekend in the first round of the playoffs?
So I caught, just glimpses of all the other games. I did see the ending to the OKC game last night. I watched the ending of the Nuggets-Lakers Game 1. I've been trying to keep up with it, but from my understanding, the Oklahoma City game was pretty much the only one that was worth watching up until the end, correct?
Yeah, so the Lakers game, they kept it close. That 13-0 run in the third quarter, they just couldn't overcome it. The Lakers kept it close to that point, and then it was on. And it's kind of the same thing with the Suns. They were kind of close, and then all of a sudden, they're down 25. It's like, what happened all of a sudden? Joker just continues to play the way that he's been playing for the last 3 seasons. That's why he's an MVP finalist. The Suns are the Cavs 2-0 again. They've taken the lead against Orlando. You've got the Knicks barely squeaking out against Philly again to take a 2-0 lead. I was kind of hoping to see Philly move on, and it's not over yet, obviously. But kind of seeing that scenario of how that's going to work out. What do you have, Donnie, on the status of Grayson Allen?
So he is questionable. Frank Vogel talked today to reporters. Obviously, I am not there in person in Minnesota, but from the roundabouts on social media, Frank Vogel said he didn't do really any strenuous activity today, and he's getting treatment, quote, around the clock. He's officially questionable for Game 2. I'm not sure one way or another if he is going to play. I will say, though, guys, if Grayson Allen is unable to go, Royce O'Neal looks pretty good in Game 1, came in relief of Grayson Allen and hit 4 of 8 from downtown, I believe. Either downtown or just overall field goal percentage. He had 14 of Phoenix's 18 bench points, a really typical 3-and-D shooter. And a lot of people have been making the case that he should be the one starting over Grayson Allen in the starting 5. So I'll be interested to see what Frank Vogel ultimately decides with another game coming back on Friday in Phoenix for Game 3.
Now, I could also say, why isn't Okogie playing? He's got like an 8.5-foot wingspan. He's 6'4". He's all length. He gives you hustle. He can play defense. Why are we not again, Frank said in the press conference after the game that, hey, this is the first game one for all of us together. Mm-hmm. Like, we're figuring this out together. And I can understand that, but you also won a championship. Like, I think you should know how to already have this together and have an idea of what to do. They went with a game plan that obviously did not work. So we're going to see in game two what happens if they make those adjustments, because I hope they do. For selfish reasons, I want to see them play Denver or LA. I want to see them move on.
That's
you got to win one
like
there.
Donnie said, that's what the playoffs are about. It's
Absolutely.
about adjustments and pulling the right levers. And, they got to see in game one, what the Timberwolves are bringing, the kind of physicality they're bringing, the game plan they're bringing, and it's time to make adjustments. And I think they will. I think, even if it's a close game, you want to see a very different Suns team. You want to see them battle. You want to see them get a win, but you want to see them come back to Phoenix with just a whole different attitude. And, I don't know, Donnie, they seem to have this kind of chill attitude. And, of course, they talked about last year, Devin Booker talked about how, hey, last year they were down 0-1 against the Clippers, and then they won the next 4 games. They're not saying that they're going to go win the next 4 games, but that, last year everyone was overreacting, and that might explain his chill attitude. But at the same time, I still want to see a little fire from my Suns.
Yeah, I mean, you've got guys like Durant and Booker who have made these very deep postseason runs. You have a championship-winning coach in Frank Vogel. I think they're trying to kind of adapt the mantra of, hey, this isn't a one-game series. Everybody in the NBA world is talking about Anthony Edwards and how the Suns pretty much had already packed their bags and already head home. There's no use in playing games 2, 3, and 4 at minimum. And I think they know. I think they're well aware of, hey, this is a long road. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But that being said, not only do I think and I don't want to call game 2 a must-win for Phoenix, because that's just simply not the case, but the Suns really have an opportunity to make a statement heading back to Phoenix for Game 3 on Friday, saying, hey, you know what? We got punched in the mouth. Here's our throwback. This might go 6, this might go 7, but we're here. We're here. We will go blow for blow with you guys. Whatever happens, happens. But we're not going to leave this court without giving our best.
Yeah. Right on. All right.
I do think those Timberwolves fans were at the end of Game 1. They all, like James said, it was electric in there. A few of them had too many drinks, and they were all calling Timberwolves in 4.
Bro, they were chanting overrated at Kevin Durant.
Yes, they were.
There's a lot of guys that you can do that to. He's not one of them. I mean, it was kind of hilarious. And some people, even in the crowd, were like, wait a minute, what? What are we saying? We're saying he's overrated? Okay. Yeah. All right. And they hear everything, so we'll see. All right. So, Donnie, we'll transition before the break happens. Talk about the NFL draft, obviously, Thursday. You're going to be at the facility, waiting on bated breath with everybody to see what they do with that number 4 pick. As of today, and with what you're hearing, what is your feeling that you think that the Cardinals would do with 4?
I will tell you, and this is going to be the easy way out, and you better not give me a hard time for this the next time I see you. Nobody knows. Nobody really knows. And I'm telling you this from the most honest perspective possible, because it all depends on what unfolds in them in the first 3 picks. I will tell you that they are absolutely shopping that 4th overall pick. I wouldn't say they are motivated to move out, but Monty Ossenfort, obviously what we saw last season in the draft, he's certainly willing to wheel and deal. And that being said, if a team is going to come up and meet the price tag that Ossenfort has set, reportedly 3 first-round picks, I don't know if that's true or not, but the price tag has been set, and if the team ultimately decides, hey, player X, Y, or Z is available, we will pay that price tag to go up and move for them, then we'll pull the trigger on that. But it's all going to depend on who's available and if teams really get desperate, because, James, we can go and read reports about how the Vikings are okay with Sam Darnold and how the Patriots are just superb with Jacoby Brissett, and we saw Zach Wilson get moved to the Broncos today, and who knows if that changes anything with Denver. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's all words, it's all posturing until they're on the clock. And 10 minutes goes to 9, 9 goes to 8, and all of a sudden you start wondering, oh man, am I going to have a job next year, right? Do I need to do something? Do I need to make a move to ensure I can save my franchise, put us in a good position moving forward, and still have a job by this time next year? We'll see if any of those teams, New York, Minnesota, Las Vegas, Denver, we'll see if any of those teams feel the need to make that jump. There's certainly interest. I'm very, very certain there's already framework for a couple of deals for Arizona to go from number 4 to wherever. But like I said, it all depends on who's on the clock, and ultimately we won't know one way or another until number 4 is ready to go.
Right, and we did see that. And we did see that, Donnie, last year again with that clip that we saw with him moving out of the top 10, then back into the top 10, and him working deals with, whether it was the Raiders or Atlanta, and looking at all these different things in Detroit and calling all these different people and, hey, bud, hey, bud, hey, bud, hey, bud. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was real life draft day stuff. It was fantastic. Stick around with us for the other side of the break because we're going to dive into more about this because, like you said, it really does matter on what the first 3 picks happens. You know where I stand. I want them to take Marvin Harrison Jr. You can't pass on a generational talent when you got a guy like Kyler Murray and he's your guy. You need to give him every weapon possible. But again, if they do it, you got to kind of trust what they've been doing. Then last year, it looked like it worked out. So I think that's something that we'll see. All right, so on this other break, Donnie's going to continue with us on KDUS 1060 Phoenix. Make sure you guys check us out on YouTube at The James Out West Show. And, of course, Donnie Druin at Donnie Druin. Make sure you guys come on back.
Welcome back to James Out West on KDUS 1060.
Thank you, CJ. Thanks for everybody hanging out with us end of the night. Final segment of the evening. Donnie D on the line still. We got Pat Stat Guy in studio, Aaron on the other side of the glass. So real quick, Donnie, looking at the first round, looking at you got Chicago at number 1, the Washington Commanders soon to be another football team name, number 2, New England number 3, and then of course the Cardinals number 4. And more and more I was thinking about it, and we were talking about it during the break, me and Pat. The more and more I think about it, man, I don't think New England's going to take a quarterback, and I don't think they're trading. I actually think they're going to take Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. And the reason I say that, is they probably have the worst receiving core in the NFL potentially. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have a rookie quarterback with no line, no receivers, and no running game, and you're going to waste his years on the rookie deal. Like, right. They're doing a full rebuild. Why would you start with the quarterback when we've learned that you kind of want to maximize that quarterback's ability with people around him? So to me, I think it's that way.
Right. And again, if the Cardinals are asking for 3 first-round picks and you've got the pick before them, and I think that New England would be interested in 3 first-round picks, like you said, to rebuild a little bit. So, you could jump the Cardinals to 3, whoever you are, if you're the Vikings or the team looking to trade up, and the Patriots can, build a stronger team with younger talent.
Absolutely. So, Donnie, kind of looking at that, for you, if it was your pick, who would you take if you were the Arizona Cardinals? If you didn't trade, let's just not put the scenario in, you're standing pat, who would you take with the 4th pick?
Oh, Marvin Harrison Jr., without a doubt. I think the rare scenario where you have the best player available on the draft that also matches your team's number 1 need heading into it, those don't cross paths a whole lot in the NFL draft year after year, but that is the rare scenario where that would just be a home run hit, right? Like Marvin Harrison Jr., take his father's name away from him, even though he's a better college prospect coming out than his Hall of Fame father. Take his name away from him. He's still wide receiver 1. I know there's a lot of talk about NFL teams having maybe like a Malik Neighbors or a Rome Odunze, and those 2 other options would be fine. But when you look at almost the surest thing coming into the NFL draft, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. He would transform the Cardinals offense overnight. He would be a seamless fit. Not that Monty Ossenfort cares, but like the State Farm Stadium would be flooded with Marvin Harrison Jr. jerseys.
Absolutely.
The accounting and the marketing team would absolutely love that and help maybe get some more people in those field level seats. But I mean, just an absolute home run, no brainer, moonwalk to the podium pick would be Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, I mean, you were talking about it earlier in the year, and with Pat, that we were like, Cardinals need a number 1 pick to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, that's where some of us were at. I'm saying some of us,
like the number 1 or number 2 pick.
Yeah,
we thought
you got to have one
Caleb
of those to get it,
and then Marvin, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, for my sake, I hope Minnesota at 11 doesn't move up to go try to trade 3 first-round picks to, like, say, the Chargers or, the Giants need a quarterback. They're probably going to draft one. I could see Denver trading up, even though they just traded for Zach Wilson, like you said. What does that mean? That might mean we got to fall back with some talent potentially if the guy we want isn't available for us to get, whether through trade or to fall to us. You know what I mean? Donnie, I've seen some mock drafts that have the Jets moving up. What are we talking about? I mean, there's just smoke season. I mean, I know 420 was on Saturday, but this is like smoke season right now. That's why I wonder these things, like you said, about these other receivers.
The Suns loss also.
Very true. That watching kind of how it goes down and everything is going to be interesting. If you had to say who's got the most pressure to get it right out of this like top group here, that in that top 10, like who's got the most pressure to get it right? Because Washington, new regime. New England, new regime. Chargers, new regime. Chicago, not a new regime, but they got 2 in the top 10. They got to get it right. Atlanta, new regime. Like there's a lot of new people. Which one do you think has to get it right?
Yeah, I think, first of all of those organizations are kind of facing not a do or die, but hey, like, when you look at what the Houston Texans were able to do last offseason in the NFL draft and free agency, not that became the standard, but maybe a quick turnaround became a little bit more realistic if you can go get your guy. I will say the Chicago Bears only because you have quite possibly one of the highest touted quarterback prospects ever to come through the NFL draft in Caleb Williams, landing on your lap, courtesy of the Carolina Panthers last year. And if you somehow waste that talent, where many people project him to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, let alone of kind of his time, if Caleb Williams does not pan out, everybody in Chicago is going to have to answer for it. I will be curious to see what happens with Chicago staff because they basically fired everybody but the head coach. And if ownership or the front office decides, hey, after Caleb's rookie year, if they want to go through a new regime change, it's probably not the best idea to give your number 1 pick 2 new regimes and 2 new seasons. But, that's why I'm talking to you guys on the phone and not in the war room on Thursday.
Well, I can tell you, thinking about what Chicago did, and there was a lot of pressure because, like you said, they kept the head coach. They could have went out and got Harbaugh. Mm-hmm. They could have went out and got a lot of these guys. They'd still have Justin Fields. Don't know what they're doing with him yet. Right. Is he going to be like? There's got to be packages for him. Like, even if you bring in Caleb, are you going to be able to trade him? Is he going to get traded on draft day? Like with that number 9 pick, does he go with number 9 and something, and somebody moves up that wants a quarterback? That, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a marketable piece. Right. I would think, for some of these teams that maybe don't get their guy potentially. Yeah.
Fields is in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right. I forget about your guys' team sometimes. I block it out. It's like a mental thing. You're right. Justin Fields is in Pittsburgh.
You already forgot about that?
Yeah, completely.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, because it's so much Russell Wilson. We've talked about, hey, brought him up again. There we go.
Yeah, right.
But so much Russell Wilson, I forgot that he's there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they already took care of that problem. Yeah. Well, forget the entire thing of what I was just talking about. Either way.
Yeah,
all right. So
I was going to say, another team that I think is under pressure to nail it in the draft is the Vikings, because they have stated their intent to move up. We all know there's no more Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. They've stated their intent to move up to get a quarterback. They only have the 2 first-round picks. After that, their next pick is a 4th rounder. So if you are going to trade 2 first-round picks to move up for a J.J. McCarthy or somebody like that, you better nail it, right?
Absolutely.
And which is exactly why I don't want them to do that, because I would rather have the 2 first-round picks. Hope that maybe you can get a JJ or some of, there's just smoke on some of these quarterbacks and someone falls to you, or maybe you're interested in Penix or something. But, like, again, not having a pick until the 4th, Kirk Cousins is gone. Everybody knows what you're trying to do. And there is a good chance we get rid of 2 firsts, we only have a first-round pick, and then we don't have a pick until the 4th.
Well, and like you just said real quick, Donnie, I'll let you chime in here. If they're going to trade all that up for J.J. McCarthy, and J.J. McCarthy's ceiling is Kirk Cousins, and they already had Kirk Cousins. You've mentioned this. I'm bringing up what you brought up.
That's not what I mentioned. That's you and your brother claiming Kirk Cousins. That's his ceiling is Kirk Cousins.
Okay. Either way. I know I heard it from an expert. Either way.
Yeah.
Either way. Donnie, any finishing thoughts on the NFL draft offseason that you'd like to bring up or clarify for us, sir?
It's going to be a crazy time. Now is Smoke Screen Central. I know you said 420 was on Saturday, but the closer we get to the draft, the closer it's going to look like a Snoop Dogg concert at Coachella. So don't believe everything you see. Don't believe everything you read. I will finish with, I do think Jaden Daniels is going number 2. I'm not buying any of the McCarthy at number 2 or number 3 Smoke. Minnesota definitely did not acquire that 2nd first-round pick just for fun. I do think there were preliminary talks before they went and got it. We'll see if they end up moving to number 4 or number 5 for J.J. McCarthy. And every year the draft brings surprises, and I just want to embrace everybody and tell them that all it takes is one team. It just takes one team to fall in love with somebody to really make everybody's jaw go on the floor, and I cannot wait to see what unfolds for everybody on Thursday.
I agree, Donnie. As always, you guys can check out Donnie D at SI FanNation, all Cardinals on YouTube. He puts out great content, great Great stuff all the time, Donnie. All right, so real quick before we get out of here, obviously something happened here last week. Look, I'm not a fan of hockey, not a fan of Arizona Coyotes, but a team leaving. I do have a special place in my heart because the Cleveland Browns got taken from us and moved to Baltimore, and I do know what that's like. I will say this, and it was very similar in that the city screwed the pooch on this one. The cities here and the team not being able to come to a common ground, that's why the team is gone. And both Scottsdale, Mesa, Tempe, Phoenix, Glendale, you should all be ashamed of yourselves because a lot of people locally lost their jobs. A fan base now doesn't have a team, and hockey was relevant here. Mm-hmm. It's a shame. Now, for the people of Salt Lake City, they're going to kill it. And congratulations to them. The nice thing, though, I'll tell you, Phoenix, is that maybe they will get it right and you'll get hockey back here one day, and it'll end up being better than it was. You guys get to keep everything. So hopefully that is what happens. All right, you guys been listening to James Out West on KDUS 1060 Phoenix. Pat was in the house. Aaron on the side of the glass. Thank you, Donnie D, as always, for joining us. I think there's a chance we're not on next weekend. I don't remember either way. If not, check us out more on jamesoutwest.com. Pat, you got anything?
Nope. Thanks for listening.
All right, y'all. Be safe. One love and good luck to the Arizona Cardinals.
Peace.